As soon as Holmes saw the pygmy, he took out his gun. I did the same. "Shoot him if he moves his hand," said Holmes. At that moment, the pygmy put a short piece of wood to his lips. We fired our guns together. The pygmy fell backwards into the water with a terrible cry. The wooden-legged man turned the Aurora towards the bank of the river. As soon as the Aurora touched the bank of the river, he jumped out. It happened so quickly that we were not able to slow down and stop the police launch. The man had landed in the soft, wet mud of the river bank, but his wooden leg had stuck in the mud. He could not move. We managed to turn the police launch round. We went towards the wooden-legged man and threw him a rope. Then we pulled him up over the side of our launch. Mordecai Smith was still on the Aurora, but he did not try to escape. We tied the Aurora to our launch. The chase was over. On the deck of the Aurora there was a big, heavy chest. We were sure that it contained the Agra treasure. We carried the heavy box onto the police launch. Suddenly, Holmes stopped and pointed. "Look," he said. I looked where Holmes was pointing. I saw one of the pygmy's poisoned thorns. It was fixed in the wood where Holmes and I had been standing. The poisoned thorn had passed through the air between us. Holmes was smiling, but I felt cold and sick. We had escaped a horrible death. As we went back up the river, we shone our light on the water. We were looking for the body of the pygmy, but we saw nothing. His body still lies somewhere at the bottom of the River Thames.
The picture sequence from the cinema has finished. You can look at it once more if you want.
The wooden-legged man was our prisoner. He was sitting in the police launch opposite the treasure chest. He was about 50 years old. He had black curly hair and a black beard. He did not look angry any more. He was not interested in anything. "What's your name?" Holmes asked him. "Jonathan Small," replied the man. "Jonathan Small?" repeated Holmes. He took out the piece of paper which had been found in Captain Morstan's luggage. Holmes read out what was written on the piece of paper. "Jonathan Small, Mohammed Singh, Abdullah Khan, Dost Akbar, the sign of 4. "Give me that paper," said the man. Holmes gave it to him. "Yes," Small said. "I am one of the sign of 4. This paper is a plan of the fortress at Agra in India. My 3 friends and I found the treasure many years ago. Tonight I have lost the Agra treasure, and you have killed my dear friend, Tonga. I'm not sorry about the deaths of Sholto and his son. I'm not sorry about anything. Do what you like with me." "You will tell us your story later," said Holmes. "But first, Watson, would you take the treasure to Miss Morstan?" "I shall be pleased to do that," I said. But I was not speaking the truth. I did not want to take the treasure to Miss Morstan. I did not want her to become a rich woman. "Inspector Jones and I will take our prisoner to Baker Street," said Holmes. "We'll meet you there, Watson." Then Holmes turned to Jonathan Small. "But where is the key of the treasure chest?" "At the bottom of the river," replied Jonathan Small. "Why did you throw it away?" cried Inspector Jones angrily. "You've made things very difficult for us." Jonathan Small did not speak. He did not care what Jones said. When we got to the jetty, I got out of the launch with the treasure chest. I found a cab and drove to Miss Morstan's house. Miss Morstan was sitting by the window. She was wearing a pretty white dress, and her hair was shining brightly in the lamplight. "How nice to see you," she said when she saw me. "Do you have any news?" "I've brought something better than news," I said, trying to speak happily. "I've brought the Agra treasure." I put the heavy chest down on the table. Miss Morstan did not look very excited. "So, this is the famous Agra treasure," she said. "Yes," I replied. "Half of it belongs to you, and half to Thaddeus Sholto. You are a rich woman now, Miss Morstan." "The treasure can wait," she said. "First, I want to hear all about your adventures. Please sit down and tell me everything." So I told her everything that had happened. I told her how Holmes found the Aurora. I told her about Inspector Jones and Thaddeus Sholto. I told her about the chase on the river, the death of the pygmy, and how we had caught Jonathan Small. "How brave you are," she said. "I didn't know that you were in such terrible danger." "It's finished now," I said. "Let's open the treasure chest. There isn't a key. How can we open the chest?" Miss Morstan left the room and came back with a heavy metal bar. I took the bar and put it under the lid of the chest. Then I turned it, and the lid opened. I lifted up the lid. My hands were shaking. We both looked inside. Then we looked at each other in astonishment. The chest was empty. The chest was made of very thick iron. This was why it was so heavy. "The treasure is lost," said Miss Morstan quietly. "Thank God," I said. "Why do you say thank God?" asked Miss Morstan. "Because now I can ask you to marry me," I replied, holding her hand. "Because I love you, Mary. Now you are not going to be rich, so I can tell you my feelings. That is why I said, thank God." "Then I say thank God too," she whispered.
The picture sequence from the cinema has finished. You can look at it once more if you want.
When I got back to Baker Street, Holmes, Inspector Jones, and the prisoner Jonathan Small were all waiting for me. I showed them the empty treasure chest. Small began to laugh. "Where is the treasure, Small?" shouted Jones angrily. "The Agra treasure belongs to the sign of 4, said Small quietly. "No one else will have it. I threw it all to the bottom of the river." We all stood astonished. The great treasure of Agra was lost forever. "The Agra treasure is unlucky," said Small. "It has never brought happiness to anyone. It brought death to Captain Morstan. It brought fear and guilt to Major Sholto. Bartholomew Sholto was murdered because of it. And to me and the other members of the Sign of 4, it has brought prison for the rest of our lives." "You must tell us your story," said Holmes. "What is the Sign of 4? Jonathan Small began his strange story, and we listened. "I went to India as a soldier in the British Army," said Small. "One day, soon after I arrived, I had an accident and lost my leg. After that, I could not fight any more. Then there was terrible fighting between the Indians and the British. The British all hid in an old fortress at Agra. They shut themselves inside. The walls of this fortress were very thick. The Indians could not get in. I also went to Agra. I had 3 Indian friends who had fought for the British. They came to Agra with me. These men were Muhammad Singh, Abdullah Khan, and Dost Akbar. When we were in the Agra fortress, we heard a strange story. It was about a great treasure which had been hidden in the fortress. It had been hidden for many years. The 4 of us decided to look for this treasure. And one day, we found it. It was hidden under the floor in a secret room. We were astonished by what we had found. We had never seen so many beautiful jewels. The 4 of us decided not to say anything about what we had found. We decided to leave the treasure hidden in the secret room in the fortress. When the fighting was finished, we would be able to take the treasure away with us. We made a promise to each other. We agreed that we would always work together. We would share the treasure between us. We became the sign of 4. But a terrible thing happened. 2 British soldiers were killed in a fight. We had not killed them, but we were arrested for their murder. We were sent to prison in the Andaman Islands.
"Is that where you met Major Sholto and Captain Morstan?"
asked Holmes. Yes, said Small. Sholto and Morstan were the officers in charge of the prisoners there. We were in a terrible situation. We knew where the Agra treasure was, but we were not able to go and get it. We were prisoners. Also, we were afraid that someone else might find the treasure. We did not know what to do. At last, we told Sholto and Morstan about the great treasure. We asked them to help the 4 of us to escape. When we were free, we would get the treasure and share it with them. But Sholto said that he did not believe us. He said he did not know if we were speaking the truth. Sholto did not know if the treasure would be there. He said he would go to India. If he found the treasure, he would come back. He would help us escape from prison. Sholto asked the 4 of us to give him a plan of the fortress at Agra. We did not want to give Sholto the plan. I didn't trust him. But in the end, we had to agree. We gave one plan to Sholto and another to Morstan. Sholto went to India, but he never came back. He found the treasure and took it to England. He stole it from the sign of 4 and also from his friend Morstan. And from that day, I decided to have revenge on Sholto.
Small was silent for a few moments. He was thinking about what Sholto had done. Then he went on with his story.
I made friends with one of the people of the Andaman Islands, he said. The people there are pygmies. They are very small, but they are very brave. One day, I found one of these pygmies lying under a tree. He was very ill. I looked after him. He slowly got better. He became my friend. His name was Tonga. Tonga helped me to escape from the islands. He had a small boat. One dark night, we put lots of food into the boat, and we sailed together from the Andaman Islands.
Holmes had been listening carefully while Small told his story. Now he spoke.
I understand, he said. Major Sholto received a letter. What was written in the letter frightened him to death. It must have been the news of your escape which killed him.
Small went on with his story.
At last Tonga and I reached London, but I was too late to have revenge on Sholto. Sholto was dying. He saw my face at the window. That night, I got into his room and left a message. It was from the sign of 4. Tonga and I waited 6 years. We watched Pondicherry Lodge and Bartholomew Sholto carefully. When Bartholomew Sholto found the treasure, we knew about it immediately. With Tonga's help, I got into his room. Tonga killed Bartholomew Sholto with a poisoned thorn. We took the treasure, left the paper, and went. I had paid Mordecai Smith to take us to a ship. We were planning to go to America, but now everything has changed. Tonga is dead, and I am your prisoner, and the Agra treasure is lost forever.
We were all silent. We were thinking of the great treasure which was lost in the mud at the bottom of the River Thames. Perhaps it was better there.
Dr. Watson,
said Holmes, when Inspector Jones had taken Small away.
That is the end of our adventure.
Yes, I said. "But I have some very good news. Miss Morstan and I are going to get married."
"Excellent," said Holmes. "The Agra treasure has at last brought happiness to someone."
The picture sequence from the cinema has finished. You can look at it once more if you want.